In math, we have a lot of special numbers, and I'm sure you've already seen a few of these. Or, for example, the special number pi shows up all over the place in geometry formulas. Well, there's another special number that we represent with the letter e that you should be aware of, especially in the context of both exponential and logarithmic functions. Now, like pi, e is an irrational number, so I can't tell you exactly what its value is, although 2.718 is usually a pretty decent approximation, kind of like you'd use 3.14 for pi. So also like pi, having e in your answer is a perfectly reasonable thing, right? Unless a question specifically asks for a decimal approximation, right? In that case, you should go with 2.71, 2.718, right? Some approximation of the value I've got here on the slide. Now, if you're wondering how this kind of weird number e is defined, there are actually a lot of different definitions that turn out to all be equivalent to each other. For example, in calculus, it's defined this way. It's the limit as n goes to infinity of this kind of weird-looking function. Also, calculus definition, it's the unique number such that e to the x is its own derivative. And those are all great, but if you haven't taken a calculus class, they probably don't mean much to you. Something that I think is more algebraic, right? This formula defines e, right? 1 plus 1 over 1 factorial plus 1 over 2 factorial, and so on. If you've never seen that factorial, that exclamation point before, that just means multiply all the natural numbers less than that number. For example, 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, right? And so on. So you can get your calculator out if you like, right? Scientific calculator probably actually has a factorial button, so most of that exclamation mark. So you can just enter that directly. And you'll see the more terms you add, right, the closer it gets to being that number I've got up there at the top of the page. So what about doing this on your calculator, right? If you have a question and it comes out to e to the 2.51 and you want to turn that into a decimal, right? What do? Well, you look for a button that looks like one of these first two on your calculator. Those are the most common ways that you're going to see this on those kinds of devices. If you don't see one, maybe you don't have a scientific calculator. Well, remember that e, it's just a number. Right, so you can just use your exponent button on the calculator, right? The one for doing something to a power. Do 2.71828. That's like the first 6 digits of e. Use that exponent button. Enter the exponent you've gotten in your question. Hit the equals key, and that'll give you a perfectly good approximate value as well. So we've already got, I think, one more lecture in this section on kind of defining exponential functions. We're going to do what we often do in algebra classes and talk about how to solve equations that have exponential functions in them.